HOA stormed in, right after I moved in, demanding my lake. Didn't know I controlled their docks. Subscribe to the Lake House in the Unwelcome Committee. The moving trucks were still rumbling down the dusty road when the first golf cart appeared. It was bright green, trimmed with fake chrome, and had an oversized HOA logo plastered on its front like a sheriff's badge. Inside sat 3 people, 2 women and 1 man, all wearing matching white polo shirts. The tallest of them, a woman with a sharp bob haircut and sunglasses that screamed control, stepped out like she owned the street. I hadn't even finished unpacking my boxes when she called out across the gravel driveway, "Excuse me, you can't park there. This road belongs to the association." Her tone carried the same authority as a school principal catching a student with gum. I turned from my SUV and smiled politely, brushing the dust from my hands. "Hi there," I said, trying to sound friendly. "I just moved in. We're aware." She interrupted, glancing at her clipboard. "You're the new owner of Lot 17, correct? The lakefront property." I nodded slowly. "That's right." She sighed like I'd already done something wrong. "Then we need to talk. You've purchased common use land, and that includes the community lake. There are rules about how you can use it." Her voice had that HOA tone. Polite on the surface, but beneath it, something smug and territorial. I had dealt with these types before when I lived in San Diego. People who believed a committee gave them divine rights over others' property. I set my hands on my hips. I bought the entire parcel from the bank. Everything inside the fence line, including the lake. My realtor confirmed it. The man in the golf cart laughed under his breath. "That's not possible. The lake's been part of our community for decades. You can't just own it." "Well," I said with a shrug, "according to the deed, I can." The woman with the bob squinted. "I'm Karen Blake, president of the Lakeshore Ridge Homeowners Association, and you'll need to meet with us immediately to resolve this misunderstanding before you violate any covenants." "Nice to meet you, Karen," I said, not breaking eye contact. "I'll unpack first, then maybe we can talk." Karen's jaw tightened. "I'll expect you at the clubhouse at 5 sharp. By 5, the sun was sinking over the Santa Monica Mountains, throwing gold reflections across the water. The lake shimmered beautifully. Mine, apparently the HOA's nightmare. Inside the clubhouse, a half circle of chairs was arranged like an inquisition panel. I counted 7 board members, all older, all watching me like I was about to confess a crime. Karen sat at the center, tapping her pen against a thick binder labeled Lakeshore Ridge Charter Rules and Covenants, 1994 edition. I took a seat. "So what's this about?" Karen cleared her throat. "We've reviewed your purchase documents, and there seems to be a clerical error. The lake cannot be privately owned. It's a shared amenity. The docks, the boat ramps, even the fishing permits are managed by us." I opened my own folder. "I'm afraid it's not an error. The previous owner defaulted. The bank foreclosed, and I purchased the full title. That includes the lake and everything on it." Murmurs filled the room. One board member, a red-faced man in suspenders, leaned forward. "You're telling us you own our docks?" I smiled faintly. "Technically, yes. You're standing on one of them in the property photo." Karen's lips pressed into a thin line. "That can't be. We built those docks years ago, with HOA funds." "Then I guess you built them on private land." The silence that followed was the most satisfying sound I'd heard all day. Over the next week, the tension grew thicker than the lake fog. Karen and her board started small, sending me warning letters for unapproved lawn ornaments, a citation for my non-regulation mailbox, even an order to repaint my house because my shade of beige didn't match community standards. It would have been funny if it wasn't so petty. One morning, I found an HOA notice taped to my door. Failure to attend compliance review meeting may result in daily fines of $250. I laughed out loud. They had no jurisdiction. My property wasn't within their boundaries anymore. The bank had subdivided it years ago, separating the lake lots from the HOA development when the association failed to pay maintenance fees. I knew this. Karen didn't. Not yet. Still, I played along. I went to their little meetings. I listened to their threats, and I smiled, waiting for the right moment. 2 weeks later, I got my chance. A group of HOA residents were down by the lake, hosting their usual weekend barbecue. Kids splashed near the docks, and men tied fishing lines to the posts. Music played, not loud, but enough to drift across the water. I walked down the dirt path, clipboard in hand. Karen spotted me first. "Oh look, the new land baron." I ignored the jab. "I'm here to inform you all that this area is private property. The lake and docks are no longer HOA managed, which means all recreational use requires written permission from the owner." Her eyes flared. "You can't just bar residents from their own lake." I showed her a printed map from the Los Angeles County Recorder's office. "This line right here separates HOA land from my property. Everything on this side, including your docks, belongs to me." People began whispering. A few homeowners looked uneasy. Karen crossed her arms. "You'll regret this. We'll take you to court." "Please do," I said calmly. "Maybe the county can remind you who hasn't paid property taxes on those docks for the last 4 years." Her face paled. I walked away slowly, leaving the entire HOA staring at the lake that, for the first time in decades, wasn't theirs anymore. That night, the emails began, anonymous. Messages accusing me of destroying community, harmony, fake complaints to the county about unpermitted construction, even a photo of my house shared in the neighborhood group chat, labeled troublemaker. But the truth was on my side. I had every deed, every tax receipt, every right. Still, I knew this wasn't over. The HOA wasn't just angry. They were desperate. Those docks were more than just planks of wood. They were the community's symbol. Without them, they lost access to the lake and their precious property values. So, I did what any clever woman would do. I started planning. The following week, I called my lawyer, a sharp-tongued real estate attorney named Dana Martinez, who specialized in HOA disputes. After hearing my story, Dana chuckled. "You've got them in a corner, but be careful. They'll try to paint you as the villain." "Already started," I said. "They're calling me the Lake Witch in their emails." "Perfect," Dana said. "Own it. Let them underestimate you." She helped me draft an official notice. Private property advisory, effective immediately. All docks, boat ramps, and adjacent lake facilities are under private ownership. Unauthorized use will be considered trespassing under California law. We sent it to every HOA member, certified mail. By sunset, the neighborhood chat exploded. Some homeowners begged me to reconsider. Others threatened me. But one message stood out, from a woman named Lisa Tran, who lived 3 houses down from the docks. "I know what they're doing to you. You're right. The lake isn't theirs. If you ever need proof, I have HOA records from before Karen took over." That message would change everything. Lisa was in her mid-30s, a quiet woman with 2 kids and a tired smile. When I met her at the cafe near Ventura Boulevard, she looked nervous but determined. "I was on the board 5 years ago," she said. "Before Karen, the HOA stopped paying for lake upkeep after a tax dispute. We were supposed to renew our easement rights, but never did. Karen buried the paperwork. So technically," I said, leaning forward, "you all lost legal access to the lake years ago." Lisa nodded. "Exactly. But Karen kept it quiet because she didn't want property values to drop. She told everyone the HOA still owned it." I sat back thinking, if I take this to the county, She's done. Lisa smiled faintly. Be careful. She's got friends on the board. And she doesn't like losing. I don't either, I said. A few nights later, I heard engines outside my house. Flashing lights flickered near the lake. I stepped out and saw several HOA members, Karen included, standing on the docks with flashlights and clipboards. I shouted from my porch, "Private property! You're trespassing!" Karen turned, her voice sharp against the night air. "We're conducting a safety inspection. You're obstructing community access. I'm calling the sheriff." "Go ahead," she said, smug. "Let's see whose paperwork holds up." So I did. When the deputy arrived, he looked between us, obviously exhausted by HOA drama. I handed him my deed. Karen handed him her binder. He flipped through both and sighed. "Ma'am," he said to Karen, "according to county records, this lake's outside HOA jurisdiction. You'll need to leave." Karen's mouth opened, but no words came out. The deputy gave her a long, patient look. "Now," she glared at me, eyes burning with pure hatred. "This isn't over." "I know," I said softly. "It's just beginning." That was the night the HOA war officially started. Within days, they filed a complaint with the city zoning department, accusing me of restricting access to community resources. They even tried to hold an emergency HOA vote to reclaim the lake by legal means. I watched them unravel from my porch, sipping coffee as construction crews installed a new gate and private sign at the dock entrance. What they didn't know was that I wasn't done yet. Lisa and I had discovered something even bigger, something buried deep in the HOA's own financial records, a clue that the docks weren't just built on private land. They'd been funded with embezzled association money, and Karen had signed every check. The calm before the storm. The next morning, I woke to the sound of heavy thuds outside. Through the blinds, I saw a crew in neon vests hammering new HOA property signs along the road leading to the lake. The audacity was almost impressive. I grabbed my phone, hit record, and stepped outside. Karen was there, arms crossed, supervising like a general on the battlefield. "You're trespassing," I said coolly. She didn't flinch. "We're reasserting community boundaries." I pointed my camera directly at her. "On land you don't own." Her smile was thin. "You'll regret this little power trip, dear." "I've already spoken to the city inspector." I raised a brow. "Perfect. I'll make sure he sees your unauthorized signage too." For the first time, she hesitated. I turned the camera to her crew. "Gentlemen, before you keep working, you should know this land is privately owned and you're trespassing. Keep that in mind for your paychecks." One of the men pulled off his gloves. "Wait, we're working for the HOA, not..." Karen snapped. "Get back to work." But two of them walked off, muttering. I didn't even need to raise my voice. Sometimes calmness was the loudest weapon of all. That evening, my phone buzzed non-stop. Unknown numbers, blocked calls, fake code violations. The HOA had clearly gone into full smear mode. Lisa texted me. "They're calling an emergency meeting tonight. Closed session. You're the main topic." I smiled. "Good." At exactly 8 p.m., I parked across from the clubhouse. Through the large windows, I could see them. The same half circle of board members, now visibly agitated. Karen stood in front, pacing like a politician in crisis. I hit record again and stayed hidden in my car, filming through the window. "She's ruining our community's reputation," Karen was saying. "If she keeps this up, we'll lose our access entirely. Property values will plummet." The red-faced man from before spoke up. "You said the lake was ours, Karen. That's why we approved those dock funds." Her tone shifted. "The paperwork must have been lost. We'll find it." Lisa's tip was right. They had no legal right to the lake, and Karen was hiding it. I watched as another board member whispered, "We could sue her, but we might lose. Maybe we should negotiate." Karen slammed the table. No! We don't negotiate with outsiders. That single line told me everything I needed to know. Karen didn't just want the lake. She wanted control. The next morning, Lisa and I met again. This time at my kitchen table, surrounded by stacks of HOA documents she'd smuggled out. Here, she said, handing me a folder marked 2019 Lake Improvement Fund. Inside were invoices, wooden planks, paint, dock bolts, totaling over $48,000. Each page bore one familiar signature, Karen Blake, HOA President. But what caught my attention wasn't the money. It was the funding source. The account listed, Community Beautification Grant, City of Los Angeles. Wait, I said. This is taxpayer money, Lisa nodded. Yep, a city grant that was meant for park beautification. Karen rewrote it to the HOA account to build those docks on land that wasn't even theirs. My lips curved into a cold smile. So she used city funds to build on private property. Exactly. That's fraud. We exchanged a look. The kind of silent understanding shared between people who have just realized they hold dynamite. That afternoon, I drove to the Los Angeles County Assessor's office and requested public copies of the HOA's filings. It took hours, but I found what I needed. A record showing that Lakeshore Ridge HOA had never renewed their maintenance easement after 2017. That meant from 2018 onward. Every HOA action concerning the lake was illegal. By sunset, I had a manila folder full of proof that could destroy the entire HOA leadership. And that was exactly what I intended to do. The next day, I invited a few local homeowners, not board members, just residents tired of HOA drama, to my property. We stood near the water, the golden Los Angeles sun, reflecting off the lake. I want to show you something, I said, holding up the documents. Your HOA president has been lying to you. These docs you use, built with misused city funds, your dues, spent on property the HOA doesn't own. I have all the proof. They exchanged shocked looks. One man, grey-haired with kind eyes, shook his head. If this is true, she's been stealing from us for years. Lisa spoke up. It's true. I was on the board. She forged votes. I handed him a copy of the grant record. Tell the others. Tell everyone. Word spread faster than wildfire. By the weekend, the HOA message board was on fire. Residents demanding answers, accusing Karen of fraud, some even calling for her resignation. Karen, of course, responded with fury. She posted a statement calling me a vindictive newcomer, spreading misinformation. But the damage was done. The neighborhood no longer trusted her. A few days later, I received a letter, a thick envelope stamped Attorney-Client Confidential. Inside was a cease and desist order from the HOA's lawyer, claiming defamation and interference with community operations. I almost laughed. I sent a reply through my attorney, Dana. Cease and desist denied. We have irrefutable proof of financial misconduct, zoning violations, and misuse of public funds. Expect a counterclaim. Within 24 hours, the HOA attorney called Dana. Not to threaten, but to negotiate. They want to meet, Dana said. Private mediation. I agreed, but with one condition. The meeting would be recorded. The mediation took place in a downtown office, overlooking Wilshire Boulevard. The city hum below felt distant, like another world compared to the war brewing in our little lake community. Karen sat across from me. Her composure cracked, but not broken. Her pearl earrings gleamed under the fluorescent lights. Let's be civil, she said, voice tight. I always am, I replied. The mediator, a calm woman in a grey suit, began. We're here to discuss property boundaries and financial disputes regarding the lake. I placed my documents on the table. There's no dispute. The property is mine. The HOA has been illegally using it, and its president misappropriated public funds. Karen's lawyer leaned forward. You can't prove that the funds. I slid the grant paperwork across the table. You sure? He read it and went pale. Karen's hand twitched. You don't understand. Those funds were stolen, I asked quietly. Used to build on private property without city permits. The mediator's expression tightened. Ms. Blake, this is serious. Karen glared at me. You think you've won? The community will hate you for this. You're tearing everything apart. No, I said softly. I'm tearing you apart. The community will be fine. The fallout began within days. An emergency HOA meeting was called. Not by Karen, but by the remaining board members. Dozens of residents filled the clubhouse, whispering in disbelief as documents were read aloud. Lisa sat beside me in the back row, recording everything. When the treasurer finished reading the financial audit, silence fell. Then someone shouted, "We want her out!" The room erupted. Karen tried to shout over them. This is slander! Lies! But her voice drowned in the chaos. That night, she was voted out as HOA president, and the next morning, the new board issued a public statement acknowledging my ownership of the lake and all related structures. It was victory, but not the end, because Karen wasn't done. 2 nights later, I found tire marks in my driveway. The mailbox had been ripped from the ground. My private property signs were torn down. I checked my security camera footage. Just flashes of us, headlights, and a silhouette that looked suspiciously familiar. I called. Dana. She's escalating. Then so do we, she said. It's time to file formal charges. By the end of the week, Dana had submitted a complaint to the Los Angeles District Attorney's Office, citing misuse of public funds and vandalism. The local paper even picked up the story. HOA, president under investigation, after property dispute in Lakeshore Ridge. It went viral. Comments poured in. People from across California shared their own HOA horror stories. And through it all, I stayed calm. I'd started as a polite newcomer, but now I was a storm they couldn't stop. Lisa came over one evening as the sun set across the water. You really did it, she said, watching the lake shimmer. You beat them. I smiled faintly. Not yet. Karen's pride is louder than her fear. She'll come back. Lisa frowned. Oh, what do you mean? I turned toward the docks. The same ones Karen had built illegally, now roped off with bright new signs. Because people like her, I said quietly. Don't disappear. They retaliate. And as if on cue, my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. Enjoy your lake while you can. Storms don't last forever. I stared at the screen, my reflection caught in the glass, the rippling lake behind me. Oh, Karen, I whispered. Neither do you. The last storm. For a few weeks things were quiet. Too quiet. The HOA board went silent after Karen's removal. Residents walked their dogs along the roads again, nodding politely when they passed me. Some even waved. For the first time since moving in, the air around Lakeshore Ridge felt almost normal. But I knew better. Karen wasn't the type to fade into the background, not after losing everything. And as much as I wanted to believe she'd moved on, the unease in my gut told me the storm hadn't passed. It was just gathering strength. The first sign came on a Thursday morning. Lisa called, panic in her voice. They're saying you poisoned the lake. What? I asked sharply. They posted it on Nextdoor. Photos of dead fish. Blaming you for contaminating the water with chemicals. Karen's back online under some fake name. Lake Lover 75. I opened my laptop. The community feed was full of furious comments. That woman's ruined the lake. Our pets got sick from the water. This is what happens when outsiders buy in. And there it was. A blurry picture of me taken from the road, captioned, The Witch of Lakeshore. She controls the lake and destroys it. I felt my chest tighten. Not with fear, but with cold anger. Karen was weaponizing the community again. But this time, I wasn't just reacting. I had a plan. I called Dana. We're filing for a restraining order. Online harassment, defamation, property interference. She agreed. And I'll call a friend at the environmental department. We'll get those fish tested. Within 48 hours, the test results came back. No chemicals, no poisons, just low oxygen levels caused by sudden algae bloom. A natural occurrence during hot California summers. Dana drafted a public statement for me. I posted it everywhere Karen's lies had spread. I even included the official report from the county lab. The comments flipped almost overnight. So Karen lied again. She's obsessed with that woman. Maybe we should just let the new owner handle things. For the first time, the community wasn't on Karen's side. And that's when she made her biggest mistake. 3 nights later, I woke to the sound of an engine. Faint but familiar, I checked the security cameras. Headlights crept slowly down the road, stopping near the docks. A figure stepped out. Short hair, athletic build, carrying something metallic. It was Karen. I threw on a hoodie and grabbed my phone. Dana had advised me never to confront her directly, but I'd had enough. By the time I reached the shore, Karen was kneeling near one of the dock posts, trying to loosen the bolts. The lake shimmered under the moonlight, silver, peaceful, and hers no longer. "What are you doing, Karen?" I called out. She froze, flashlight trembling in her hand. Then she turned, her face pale and furious. "This is mine," she hissed. "You stole it from me. You built it on land you didn't own. I built this community," she screamed. "I made this place worth living in, and you just walked in and destroyed it." "You destroyed it yourself," I said softly. Her breath came fast. "You don't deserve it, none of it." She stepped closer, holding the wrench like a weapon. The moonlight caught her eyes. Wild, unhinged, desperate, I held my ground. "You're trespassing again. Leave now, or I call the sheriff." Karen's lip curled. "You think they'll believe you? You're just some outsider with a fancy lawyer." "Maybe," I said, raising my phone. "But the camera believes me." She froze as the red light blinked, recording everything. For a second, the fury drained from her face, replaced by fear. Then, without another word, she dropped the wrench and backed away. "Enjoy your lake," she spat. "It'll drown you one day." Then she ran. By morning, the footage was already with the sheriff's department. They didn't just charge her with trespassing. They reopened the case on the embezzled city funds. And within 2 weeks, the news broke again. Former HOA president arrested for fraud, trespassing, and vandalism. Lakeshore Ridge had never been so quiet. For months afterward, the community slowly rebuilt. The new HOA board, humbled and cautious, invited me to a public meeting. They wanted to make peace and learn from past mistakes. I attended, not to gloat, but to make something clear. Standing at the podium, I looked at the faces that had once scowled at me, now filled with guilt. "I'm not your enemy," I said. "I moved here because I loved this lake. All I wanted was peace. But peace doesn't come from control. It comes from respect. Something your old leadership forgot." A few heads nodded. Even the new board president, an elderly man named Gerald, looked ashamed. "You'll always have access to the water," I added, "as long as you ask permission and follow the law. I'm not here to keep people out. I'm here to keep this lake safe from anyone who forgets who truly owns it." When the applause came, it was hesitant at first, then genuine. Months later, summer in Los Angeles had a way of painting the lake gold, like it was never touched by anger or lies. Lisa and I sat by the water one evening, watching kids fish along the edge. She smiled. "You could have sold this place, you know. Moved somewhere quieter." I chuckled. "Quieter, yes. Better? So what's next? No more HOA wars." Let's hope, I said. But if another one comes, at least now they know who they're dealing with. Final wrap-up. The lake remembers. When I first moved into Lakeshore Ridge, I thought I was buying peace, a home by the water, a quiet life. But I learned something bigger. Peace isn't given, it's defended. Karen's downfall wasn't just justice. It was a reminder that people like her thrive when others stay silent. They hide behind rules, committees, and fake smiles, all while taking more than they deserve. I didn't fight her with noise. I fought her with truth. And truth, once it surfaces, never sinks again. Months after her arrest, I visited the docks one last time. The boards creaked under my feet, warm from the California sun. Someone, maybe one of the residents, had left flowers near the post. A small sign hung nearby. Respect the lake, respect each other. I smiled. That was all I ever wanted. Lisa joined me, camera in hand. We should rename the lake, she joked. You earned it, I laughed. Maybe someday. For now, I just like the sound of silence. The breeze rippled across the water, catching the light. For a moment, the reflection showed two women, once strangers, now allies, standing where the storm had once raged. I thought about Karen, sitting somewhere far away, probably still blaming everyone but herself. Maybe she'd learn, maybe not. Either way, she was gone, and I had the lake, not as a prize, but as peace earned, inch by inch. The community changed too. The new HOA focused on repairs, transparency, and kindness. Words that had vanished under Karen's reign. Residents smiled when they saw me now. They waved. Some even fished off the shore again, this time asking permission first. Sometimes, when the sunset turned the water orange and violet, I'd whisper to myself. They demanded my lake, but it wasn't the lake they wanted. They wanted control, and control is something they'll never have again, because now I was the one who decided who stepped on these docks, and those who came in peace were always welcome. The storm was over. The lake was calm again, and for the first time since I moved in, so was I.